I decided to upload a reselling video on my Alaskan channel because I live in Alaska and I resell. And I also realized there's a lot of similarities between people who want to move to Alaska and people who want to resell. So during this video, when I tell my story, I'm going to show a little bit of my inventory of what I have now. And maybe I'll make a few more of these reselling videos if you guys like them. And maybe I can convince some of you who are thinking about getting into reselling to actually start to do it. Some people want to come to Alaska because they're fascinated with this kind of lifestyle. Or maybe because they are misled by many videos they watch on YouTube, only telling them the positive things about Alaska and not the negative things about living here. And I believe some people want to become resellers because it seems like it's something they would enjoy doing. Or maybe because they're misled by many videos they watch on YouTube telling them how much money they can earn and how they can quit their day jobs and resell full time because it's just all easy and fun. But the reality is most people who move to Alaska and many people who try to become full-time resellers typically give up and go back home or go back to their normal job within 2 years. There's a dark side of YouTube that many people don't always think about. I've met both YouTube resellers and people who move to Alaska to live off-grid on YouTube, and you may be surprised at the secrets they keep. There are resellers who claim they make a living by running from thrift store to thrift store or buying Amazon pallets, mystery boxes, storage units, and so on, when in truth that person is an extremely wealthy individual who is not making a living off of reselling as they claim. There are people who move off-grid in Alaska and make videos about it, but they actually have a second home, and they only use their off-grid cabin when making their videos. I'm sure if I knew anyone who claimed to be living in their van full-time, that I would eventually meet someone who actually lives with their parents and drives out to remote areas or goes camping for a weekend and talks about how they live full-time in their van. I'm not saying there are no YouTubers who make a living reselling on eBay and Mercari and other websites, although it's a very small minority of resellers who are lucky enough to do this. There's also people who truly live off-grid and are telling the truth in their videos. But how do you know who to believe and who to trust? But let's focus on the honest resellers today. There are many resellers and every reseller has his own system. One reseller's success would be another reseller's failure, depending on what each individual's goals are. In my reselling videos, I plan on showing you some of my inventory, but more importantly, I'm going to show you my system, which I feel will be helpful to people who want to get into reselling, but don't have a big budget to begin with. You don't have to begin reselling full-time to have success. You can take things slowly and grow from there. I became a full-time reseller on eBay in 2002, but back then the way eBay worked and how you got your products was very different. I ordered my products from Nepal and China because back then not only did you have less competition from other resellers, but also many of the Chinese companies did not use eBay as much as they do today. Today the Chinese companies will still sell to resellers, but they also list the same items on eBay. And the problem with this is you can never beat out their prices. So not only do you have more competition today, but you're also competing against the people who are selling you your products. This is a big reason why over the years so many people started going to yard sales and thrift shops and estate sales, and also why you don't hear much anymore about successful resellers buying in bulk from China. Another thing that was different back in the early 2000s, You could sell anything you put up on eBay. There was literally nothing that nobody would buy. If you put up a used pair of socks, it would be sold for a profit. I remember some of my best-selling items were things like those Super Balls from the 1970s. I paid 2 cents per Super Ball, and I typically sold a lot of 20 for anywhere between $10 and $20. People loved to overpay for things on eBay in the early 2000s because 98% of the auctions were auctions rather than buy it now. And most of the bids came in the last 1 or 2 minutes before the auctions ended. And when people are bidding on these types of auctions, not only have they been planning the entire week to show up on the internet to win this item on the day the auction was ending, they often convinced themselves days before the auction ended that they were going to win no matter what. And when the time arrived for the last 3 minutes of bidding, those people began getting so involved in that auction, and then they see time is running out for them on an item they've already convinced themselves that they're going to win. They refuse to lose to somebody else, plus the pressure of the clock ticking down seemed to make people forget how much they were overpaying for something. And they were only focusing on, I must win this auction. These were the best times for resellers on eBay. I was a reseller full-time for 3 years, but if things went so well, why would I stop? One reason was for those 3 years I worked 364 days a year, only taking every Christmas off. I also worked about 12 hours every day. When you're a full-time reseller, you don't want to miss a single sale. It's hard to turn off the computer or put down your phone because you're often thinking, what if someone sends me a message and I don't answer fast enough and I lose a sale? In 2005, I was offered a job that I could also do from home, and I decided at that time to focus on my new job and stop my reselling business. I never got back to reselling until the end of 2023 because over the years I started getting interested in other online opportunities. I ran a few websites and I did some freelancing in my free time. It was a lot less work and I was still making extra money. But the past few years I had an urge to get back into reselling because I've always missed it and I always enjoyed the challenge of making a profit reselling stuff. The past 6 months, I've been getting familiar with the new way platforms like eBay and Poshmark work. I've started off slowly and made a few sales. And while I'm settling down in my new home in Alaska, I'm collecting further inventory. I'm going to end this video here because it's just to introduce myself, and although I'm not new with reselling, I think it's a fun opportunity where I can start all over again and share with everyone how I run my reselling business. And maybe in my future videos, I can give you some ideas and helpful advice, regardless of your age or budget. And I can even convince you, if you've been thinking about starting up with reselling, that you should. So thanks for watching the video, and if you're thinking about getting into reselling and your budget may not be as big as you'd like, and even if you only have $50 to get started, maybe in my future videos I can give you some good advice that'll help you out some. And check out my Alaskan videos if you get bored tonight. I recently visited about 50 landmarks and small remote towns, so you may enjoy them also.